What is going on, gang? It's been a while, but let me tell you, I'm here to talk to you about anime fights. Anime fights and anime, it could be a great thing, man. There are so many good fights across anime history, and honestly, anything can make a great anime fight. From the animation to the fight choreography to just the overall sequence of events that takes place to get to this great fight. But I'm here today to give you the first part of a two-part video series of my top 10 anime fights of all time. So let's get right into them.
Let's get things started. Got them fight all set. Ready?
I just got in a whole brand new bag. I'm rolling around like I missed it. Earlier, jewelry moving like juice. Talking out goes in the hit me. Look, I just leveled up, I thank God. Straight from the mud, now it's time to get the pie. Sweat, tears, and blood, you can see it in my eyes. My future turning up, what it's time to be alive. I'm that nigga, I don't mean to brag, but I'm getting too nice with this. Ain't no way that I'm going outside. My pockets been heavy as shit. The bank is full of the blues, bitch, I'm happy how that contradict. Same way I had to go harder when I found myself down on my dick. See need up, he just stoop on the stove. My ex tryna check it, so that bitch go explode. Find me at the Ritz, throwing cheese at the pub. I'm vibing in high place, keep that business on the low. I just leveled up, I thank God. Straight from the mud, now it's time to get the pie. Sweat, tears, and blood, you can see it in my eye. My future turning up, what it's time to be.
Yo, what's going on, Red Cloud Gang? And welcome back to the Red Cloud Network. Now, it's been about 6 or 7 months since my last video, man, and I've been trying to get back to doing this for a while, but right now we're going to get into part 1 of my top 10 anime fights. And the first fight that's up is Deku versus Bakugo on the school grounds at night. When I tell you, I feel like this fight solidified their rivalry. I feel like their love for All Might made this fight what it was, in my opinion. It showed a lot of growth for Deku and Bakugo as far as character development, in my opinion, up until this point. And it did it perfectly. Like, it showed Deku advancing in his strength, Bakugo finally kind of acknowledging Deku as a rival, and also them, like, Bakugo was holding on to a lot that you ain't even realized. Like, Bakugo blamed himself for ending All Might's career because he had to come save him. And Deku was unaware of that. Deku was just trying to show up and console this man, and Bakugo would have none of it. But I felt like this fight was needed to advance their rivalry as characters and develop them as characters. And this was honestly the moment where they finally told Bakugo the full truth about how Deku got his quirk. All Might finally sat him down, told him what happened, and we moved on from there. Now, this fight, man, showed off some of Deku, like, I want to say early shoot style days. Like, this was kind of like before he decided to develop shoot style using kicks instead of punches to protect himself. So I feel like we seeing that in this, and you got to see a little bit, because I've always said Bakugo is a master strategist, in my opinion. Like, yeah, sometimes he gets, like, the villain gets the upper hand of Bakugo, but most of the time I feel like it's all according to his plan, which that's just me. But also, I'm a Bakugo stan, so Bakugo has been my guy since day one to me watching MHA. So that's just my opinion. But I love this fight, man. And honestly, it was pretty short because, All Might eventually showed up and stopped him from fighting after the security system alerted them about it. But honestly, I would have to give this fight, if I was going to rate it, a good old 7 out of 10, man. This fight was amazing. Amazing. I will recommend everybody go back and watch this fight. MHA is known for having good fights. I feel like MHA gets a lot of unnecessary hate, and I feel like it's mostly because of the weird fans, not like the actual fandom. Like, I feel like some of the weird fans making their little fantasy couples and just, I don't know, just like, what can I say? Like, oozing over like girls who are minors in this show. So I'm just saying, I just feel like MHA as a fan or as a whole gets a lot of unnecessary hate. But I have to give this fight a good old 7 out of 10. Now, number 2 on my list, I couldn't pick one fight from this arc. Like, it's, if you can, Like, all power to you, to each his own, but I just could not pick one fight from this arc. So I picked the entire Entertainment District arc fights. Like, that's Tengen versus Gyutaro, that's Daki versus Hidetsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro. Like, that's Nezuko versus Daki. Like, I cannot pick one fight or one moment out of this whole arc. Like, and if you look at it, Daki and Gyutaro seemed like they were invincible. Like, they weren't going to be able to stop them in this fight at all. Like, they just, like, they were wrecking shit. Like, the siblings, the Upper Moon siblings were just invincible, in my opinion, until they figured out how they had to beat them and, like, just beheading one of them at the same time. Or, excuse me, just beheading one of them wasn't going to work. They had to behead them both at the same time. The animation for this fight was phenomenal. Like, but what do you expect from Studio Mappa, man? Like, Studio Mappa, I feel like animation is their bread and butter. I'm not saying they don't make a good story. Again, the story's already written, so all you got to do is animate it. So I'm like, Studio Mappa, when it comes to anime, is unmatched to me when it comes to animation. And I feel like everybody got a moment in this, including the main four. I feel like Inosuke got his moment, Zenitsu got a moment, Tanjiro got a couple of moments, and of course, Nezuko achieving full demon form was phenomenal, man. Just seeing her just go full demon and beat the brakes off Daki was amazing. And then we get to like the final part. Tengen fighting Gyutaro one arm. The animation for that scene where you got Tengen and Gyutaro just swinging their swords and you just see all the sparks and stuff flying and whatnot, man. Whoo! And then Tanjiro pulling off that last Hinokami Kagura. I'm telling you, man, this fight right here. And like I said, I could just pick one moment from this fight. The animation in here is top tier. Like, I'm talking about God level animation. And I loved every second of it. So I had to give this fight a good old 10 out of 10. And honestly, let me hear yeet for that. Yeet. Yeet. But yeah, man, I had to give this fight a 10 out of 10, man. If you disagree, you disagree. Now, I'm gonna say this before I jump into number 3. I know this video is not gonna be my best because again, I've been away from this for a while, man. So I probably ain't gonna talk the best. I probably ain't gonna be looking directly into the camera, and you know, it is what it is. But once I get back into the swing of things and start remembering stuff and start being able to remember all the notes I wrote down by heart, I got y'all, man. The quality of videos are gonna go up. But with that being said, let's jump right into number 3. And I feel this fight is one of the more underrated fights on my list. Like, it don't get talked about. And that's honestly because I feel like the anime itself, people like either love it or they hate it, or they just like, they kind of in betweeners. They couldn't like get into it. They tried it, but they couldn't get into it. And that is Benimaru versus the Demon Infernal from Fire Force. Now, Fire Force as a whole to me was good. And like, other than Tamaki having her weird fan servicey moments because they just happen out of nowhere, so you can't really control that. But as far as like the action, and I feel like the animation of the action, it was fantastic, man. I feel like the story was good, and we finally get season 3. I think next year season 3 is coming out. I don't know what month, but I am almost positive season 3 is coming out next month, or not next month, next year finally. Now, this fight right here is on my list for a reason. I didn't like the Benimaru character right out gate. Like, I was like, he was all right. Now, it wasn't until I saw him fight this Demon Infernal, I was like, oh, this dude a badass. Because I low-key thought he was just being an a-hole to Shinra. And I don't really care about Arthur. I don't like Arthur anyway. He's kind of a whack-ass character in my opinion. But, whew. I always enjoy this, man. And I've always enjoyed like the battle noises that Fire Force uses. Like, I don't know what it's called in the show itself, but I always call it like that bass boost noise. Like matter of fact, here's a clip of it. Now, this noise, I feel like, is used perfectly because I feel like it's only used for final attacks or like real big attacks. So I feel like when it's done, it is done perfectly. It's not overused. I just always feel like the sounds for the combat in Fire Force have been like top tier. Now, as far as like Shinra had a moment in here too where he kind of initially felt the power or felt like the presence of the devil's footprints. Like I can't really tell what it called. It was kind of like as if I had to compare it to anything, I have to say his devil footprint is kind of like his spidey sense. Like it can sense danger, it kind of alerts him, which is crazy in and of itself. I don't know if the creator drew inspiration for Spider-Man for that, but like I feel like when his like you see the little part where his feet kind of like vibrate, I feel like that's like his spidey sense, and his devil footprints are like alerting him to danger in the area. Now, when I tell you Benimaru, though this fight was extremely short, I feel like Benimaru, this kind of catapulted Benimaru into being some people's favorite character. And also the fact that we find out with this fight that there are different levels of infernal. Like there's demon infernals, and then there's like, if you see later in the series, there's actually infernals that can speak. So that's crazy as hell to me. So I feel like them with a first encounter of a demon infernal and the way Benimaru just basically handled this man was amazing. And like I said before, the animation for this scene, the battle sounds, the fight choreography for this, Benimaru just flying around on a broom like he's some type of crazy badass witch, or I guess let's say witch warlock. Man, it was amazing. And then Shinra having this moment where he flies up, it stops the White Clad's arrow from hitting Benimaru before he had a chance to finish off the Demon Inferno. That was amazing. And I would have to say this was probably easily in my top 5 fights from the series, because like there are a lot of good fights in the series, like Shinra versus his brother. That's a good ass fight, even though Shinra gets dog walked by his little brother low key. I feel like, but again, like I said, the Demon Infernals being introduced and finding out they're like a captain level threat. Like can't just anybody from a squad beat these things. These are like a captain level threat. It's going to take a captain or maybe a captain and multiple supporting cast to beat a Demon Infernal. So I feel like finding out about these, and now as they finding out, trying to figure out like how these Infernals have come to be, man, this is crazy. So I love this fight. I honestly had to give it a 7 out of 10 because it was super short. And I feel like though we got to see how badass Benimaru was, it didn't show off enough of his skill set or his powers for me to give it anything higher than a 7 out of 10. But we're going to move right on to number 4. And this one right here is a big one because I want to talk about this one because the fight I'm about to bring up is, in my opinion, the best fight, or at least better than Okriora versus Ichigo. And that would be Ichigo versus Grimmjow. And I'm talking about Ichigo versus Grimmjow in Hueco Mundo, where he's basically fighting. I'm not going to say, because he wasn't inherently fighting in that fight to protect Nail and Orihime, even though he kind of was. But this fight right here, to me, was so much better than Ichigo versus Okriora. I know everybody likes to talk about Okriora versus Ichigo, and it's because he achieved the Vasto Lorde form after basically being killed by Okriora and Orihime healing him. So Ichigo had his kind of like hollow berserk moment, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, but see, that's why I picked Grimmjow versus Ichigo, because it was just a straight up, hey, hands versus hands, we trying to see who better than who type shit. I felt this fight solidified Grimmjow as the better Espada, in my opinion, compared to Okriora. I feel like Grimmjow is just, I don't know, I feel like his personality just how he moves, how he carries himself is way better than Okuyor. Okuyor is just too quiet for me. He don't do much for me, just so monotone and just bland. He like unseasoned chicken. So that's why I don't really rock with Okuyor versus Ichigo like that. Now, I'm not saying it's not a good fight. It's a great fucking fight, Okuyor versus Ichigo. But Grimmjow versus Ichigo is always going to be the better fight to me. This fight wasn't purely going on to, like I said, save Nail and Orihime. I feel like these two were just battling to see who was better. Like it was tit for tat. And I feel like, honestly, in the end, like Ichigo understood Grimmjow more, and they kind of got this now like unspoken rivalry between the two. Like Grimmjow basically, Ichigo let Grimmjow survive, and I think that's because he like resonated with him, like he understood him, why he was the way he was. So I feel like Ichigo let him survive. So that kind of like gave birth to their rivalry as characters, and it was some character growth for Ichigo. So I'm gonna have to put this fight up there above most of the other fights in Waco Mundo. And honestly, in my opinion, I believe this fight ended in a tie. Yeah, it ended with Ichigo being the one left standing, but I feel like Ichigo was just as hurt as Grimmjow. So I feel like, again, that's why he let him live. Because I feel like low-key Ichigo deep down inside wanted to fight him again because he didn't feel he won that fight. So I feel like Ichigo wanted to fight Grimmjow again to get a definitive winner next time they actually fought each other. And you got to see Ichigo like use his hollow mask in control of it after being trained by the other hollow mask users. And man, Ichigo was just killing it, man. This fight was amazing. I'd have to give this fight a 9 out of 10. The only reason I don't give it a 10 out of 10 is because you still got Aiza versus Ichigo out there in the atmosphere. So I gotta give this a 9 out of 10. But we gonna move on to the last and final fight. Number 5 on my list. Now, this is the last fight of the part 1 video. I got the next 5 fights coming in part 2. But this next fight, if you know me, I got a huge love for mecha anime. So this next fight is from Gurren Lagann, and it is Gurren Lagann versus Thymilf, if I'm saying his name right. Thymilf, I can't remember. I like Thymilf better because Thymilf just sounds weird to me. Words cannot explain how much I love this fight. Like for real. This fight to me was one of the best fights in the series, and I'm about to tell you why. I feel like this fight pushed Simone into being the MC, the main character we needed him to be. Like it needed to, because I feel like at some point he was going to get overshadowed by Kamina. So I feel like this fight is what pushed Simone into being like, all right, bro, you the real MC. So it's time for you to start acting like it. You ain't no side character in the show. You're the guy. And I felt like this was one of the most meaningful fights in the series as far as like character development and developing Simone as a character and developing Yoko as a character and just pretty much starting Team Gurren Lagann like right away, or Team Gurren right away. Because I feel like this was, like I said before, this was the fight that catapulted Simone into like being the guy, the MC of this show. So again, we're going to get right into why this fight is so significant. Now, if you've seen this fight, you know that Kamina ends up passing away after he ends up taking a shot from Thymilf. But this man still continues to fight, and they finish it off this fight with one of the best Giga drill breaks of the series, in my opinion. Yeah, I know everybody talk about the final Giga drill break or the mega Giga drill break, but this one right here meant so much more because you knew it was Kamina's final fight. You knew Simone after this was going to have to deal with the grief and loss of losing the one person he called family, his brother. So I felt like this death hit Simone hard. I know people go back and forth on how to pronounce his name. I want to say it's Simone. I feel like that's how they pronounce it in the show. It's not Simon. But I digress. But like I said, I feel like Kamina's, though, man, when I tell you Kamina passing, hit me hard, honestly. Had me crying a little bit. Had your boy over here sobbing a little bit because honestly, Kamino was easily about to be everybody's favorite character had he not died 8 episodes into this series. I feel like Kamino was going to be the guy while Simone took a backseat to Kamino being the guy. But like I say in most things, even with TV shows, movies, anime in general, man, I feel like there are necessary deaths and there are unnecessary deaths. And I feel like Kamino's death was necessary to develop Simone as a character, developed him as an MC, and have him deal with like grief and loss for the first time. So I feel like this fight was I ain't gonna say the best fight in the series, but it is like right there. It has to be at least top 3 in most people's list. And you can't tell me Kamino wasn't well on his way. And I feel like most of the anime community would agree wasn't well on his way to being everybody's favorite character, man. This man brought a different type of energy. He was just, I don't know, man. He had just that leadership role. He like just commanded the best out of everybody. And oh man, the line he delivered. I can't remember the line exactly. If I find a clip, I'm definitely gonna play it. But man, the line he delivered, I forget what he said to Simone, but boy, such a beautiful line. And like I said, this fight ended with Gurren Lagann giving us one of the best Giga Drill breaks from the series, in my opinion. Like, again, I know everybody talks about the final one, but this Giga Drill break was so much more meaningful because you knew it was Kamina's last. And honestly, just for the significance, the meaningfulness, the character development after this fight, and just the overall fight itself, I had to give this fight a 10 out of 10. This fight was amazing. And Gurren Lagann, if you have not seen it, is one of the best, is held in regards to one of the best mecha animes amongst the anime community. Like, Gurren Lagann is, I need to go watch the series again because it was so good from start to finish. Like, there was not a bad episode in this entire series, in my opinion. And I felt like you feel like falling in love with most of the side characters of this show too. So like, I feel like, man, honestly, like I said, if you have not seen Gurren Lagann, go check this anime out. It is worth a watch. It is a fantastic series. And I think if you haven't seen it, you will love it and you will recommend it to others. But like I said, this fight for me is a 10 out of 10. But those are my first 5 fights in part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, man, because I'm telling you, they only go get better. Be aware, before I finish this video, these are all just opinion, man. These are all just in my opinion on what I feel are the best, my top 10 fights, like I said before. But if you got any fights that I haven't seen, you may want me to check out, or even anime series that you want me to check out that have great fights in it. Drop it down in the comments, man. I'm always down to check out new anime. But that's all I got for you. As always, keep it classy, motherfuckers. Deuces.